Off. Thank you. Thank you for that. We're recording the session. So for those who are not able to attend, we'll do sound bites and try and load the session also on our YouTube page. But just to share, Dr. Kemmy, Kemunto Mokaya is a highly accomplished professional. She's a Yale-trained dermatologist. She's a board-certified dermatologist in the US. I know she'll tell us more about that, but she's also a best-selling author. She's written a really lovely book that I have called Live and Look Younger. That's a really amazing book where she explores the connection between health, appearance, and your overall success. And we'll be hearing more about that. But she's really an amazing person, an accomplished person in her career, and I think a very inspirational person. She was my desk mate in high school, disclosure. And yeah, so we come from way back, and yeah, she's very inspirational. So yeah, I really want to welcome you, Kemi, for this session. But for those who don't know you, tell us about you. Who is Kemi?
As Phyllis has said, I grew up in Nairobi, Kenya. I now live in Houston, Texas, but I grew up in Nairobi, Kenya, and I was fortunate to be born into a middle-class family. My dad is a pharmacist, my mom is a nurse, and growing up, because my parents were in healthcare, I could see the big impact that healthcare had in people's lives, and seeing all the needs, seeing people who died needlessly because they didn't get the care they needed, that inspired me to become a doctor. So initially, I thought I was going to do all my training in Kenya, but the opportunity came to come abroad, and I came to the US, and I've been here ever since. I was at Yale for my undergraduate training and medical school, and I've kind of been all over the US. I trained at Mass General Hospital in Boston for a year. I was in California for 3 years. I've lived in Tennessee, worked with rural people, and now I call Houston, Texas home.
Oh,
So it's been a long journey. I'll break it down in more details, but looking back, like when we were in high school together with Phyllis, I would have never have imagined my life would come this far, but life takes you in places you didn't expect it to.
no, that's amazing, and you are always outstanding. So yeah, congratulations on how far you've gone and the impact that you're having. When you look back in your career, I know you've shared a little bit about your parents being in the healthcare profession, but what do you think was really a defining moment in your career that shaped you to be the person you are today?
So I think there are many defining moments. I think starting with childhood. So, we grew up in Kenya, which is quite a patriarchal society. And a lot of times that we grew up, there was a sense in some people in the community that women's job was in the kitchen. Like I remember when we'd go up country, they'd want the girls to do domestic work and to focus on that. And the boys were told to focus on their books. So I didn't like that. I was like, you know what? Anything boys can do, girls can do better. And anytime I got pushback from other people, I was like, I can fight, I can do anything boys can do. The next pivotal moment, or just something that influenced us a lot. So we went to Precious Blood High School Ruruta, which at that time was the leading school in Kenya. I'll have to throw that in. We're always number one. But anyway, PB was based in a lower income neighborhood. And, with lower income neighborhood come all the societal ills. Like there were a lot of, poverty just brings a lot of ills. We won't talk about that. But one of the things I remember vividly is that especially at the end of the month when people would get paid, some men would go get drunk and come on and beat their wives. And I just remember like many nights would go to sleep hearing wailing from the neighborhood. And that just made me realize, you know what, as a woman, I'm not going to be the type of woman who relies on a man. I'm not going to be the type of woman who comes home to an abusive husband. And so that inspired me. And I'm sure it inspired a lot of people from our high school to just be go-getters and people who will achieve the most because we were not going to rely on anyone. We were going to rely on ourselves. And it wasn't just the people in the low-income neighborhoods. We even had a teacher, I won't mention her name, who was stuck in an abusive marriage because she felt like she needed to. And in all levels of society, there were people like that. And that just inspired me as a woman to be like, you know what? I want to be a go-getter. I want to achieve the most that I can. I want to be an example to many other women who feel like they cannot or who feel like they're stuck and who feel like they're in situations where they can't pull them out and they rely on other people. So being in that environment was really pivotal because it just made me feel like I'm going to be an independent woman, not for myself, but for my children and then other people who are around me. And then I'd say the third, another pivotal stage was when my mom liked us to read a lot. And so she encouraged us to go to libraries. We used to borrow books. We didn't really buy books as much, but we used to borrow from the library. And I remember just reading Think Big by Ben Carson. And, even though he's kind of messed, he's changed his brand, but when we're growing up, Ben Carson was everything. His book was
Inspirational.
he inspired us. He wrote Think Big, and we're like, oh my goodness, he could go from being the D student, the person, somebody who was doomed to be in jail, to someone who's
Mhm.
a successful neurosurgeon. So when I read that book, I learned about mindset and the value of thinking big. And actually, when I read
Yes.
that book, I was like, if I could go to the US and if I could go to Yale like Ben Carson, that would be something. So I didn't really realize it, but at that point, I made an intention and I thought about it. And when you make an intention to do something and you put your heart and soul into it, a lot of times, if you're really focused on those dreams, they can come true. So one thing led to another. It was a long journey, but eventually I did find myself doing the SATs and doing what it took to apply to Yale. And I feel grateful and fortunate that I got admitted.
No, that's amazing. So Ben Carson was actually the inspiration for that. That's really
Yes, for
nice to
Yale,
know.
it definitely was. And I do have an uncle. One of my dad's brothers was in Cambridge. He went to do his PhD in chemistry then. And then
Yeah.
he went to such a big deal. They're like, oh my goodness, he's going to Cambridge. At that point, I didn't know what Oxford and Cambridge were. But when I realized what they were, I was like, okay, the UK is expensive, but I hear there's scholarships in America, Harvard and
Yes.
Yale are the equivalent. So if I'm going to match up with my uncle, I'll make it to Harvard or Yale. And with Ben Carson going to Yale, that's where I put my
That's very
sights.
put. Oh no, that's amazing. So Ben Carson was definitely one of the people who inspired you to pursue your career. And in addition to him, who would you say has been an influential mentor, someone you've looked up to or spoken to and has really shaped the direction your career has taken?
So there have been many mentors along the way. In medical
Mhm.
school, I was very undecided about what I wanted to do. I really had wanted to come back to Kenya. And initially, I thought that infectious disease was the thing I should do because there are so many infections in Africa. But I remember one mentor told me, you know what? You just follow your heart. You can be useful wherever you want to be. You don't have to feel like you have to do the thing that everyone's doing. So that was Dr. Painsel from Ghana. I will influence him for at least allowing me to break free of that mold where I felt like I had to do infectious disease, I had to come back to Kenya. He just told me, you just do whatever your heart, whatever your passion is, because you'll be useful no matter what you do.
Mhm.
I'd say another influential person would be Dr. Edelson, who was the chairman of the dermatology department. When I did
Yes.
dermatology, I enjoyed it, but it's one of the most competitive specialties in the US. And as an international student, I wasn't sure I could make it because usually it's a lot harder for
Yeah.
international students to get these opportunities that are reserved for Americans. But he just told me, you just push for it. He believed in me,
Mhm.
he guided my steps and allowed me to do the things that I needed to do to make it there. So I'll have to give him a lot of credit for allowing me to pursue, allowing and encourage me to pursue my career in dermatology.
That's amazing. So how is it going? Do you love the choice you made to do dermatology?
Oh, absolutely. I love it. I mean, it's
Uh-huh.
every day I go to work, I'm happy. The type of medicine I like, I'm not the type of person who likes to be saving lives, people who are
Yeah.
quickly dying. I
Yeah.
prefer to be in clinic when people are healthier, a laid back setting. And I
Mhm.
love the fact that we get to see people of all ages, from babies all the way to old people. We get to treat men and women. They're well.
Mhm.
I love the confidence boost that people get when, say, for example, I have a teenager who's covered in acne, has low
Yes.
confidence, but I can treat them. And at the end
Yeah.
of our 6-month journey, their skin is clear and you just see them walking with confidence, no more hoodies. So I love the opportunities to be able to influence lives in those ways. I would say I don't acutely save lives when people are actively dying, but I definitely, with what I do, improve the quality of life. And I also do save lives when I find deadly cancers like melanoma.
Okay, that's great. And you spoke about the chair of dermatology, being a mentor, and the doctor from Ghana. As a mentor yourself, what values or what things do you try to instill? From what you said, they taught you things like following your heart, ensuring that you're not trying to fit into a mold. What are some of the things you encourage the people you mentor to focus on?
So, I'd encourage them first of all to realize that okay, have purpose when you're seeking out your mentor. Sometimes mentees go to mentors very needy. You have so many needs, so many wants, you're not focused. A lot of your mentors are busy people. So I tell mentees, be focused, know what you're gonna get from the relationship. And when you go in with that focus and also listen to what your mentors tell you. So be focused, know what you're trying to get out of that relationship. And when you do get into that relationship, listen to your mentors, actually show them that you're applying what they tell you. Like, for example, my mentor, Dr. Edelson, when I first met him, he told me, do blah, 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 meet this professor, read this book, do that. I rapidly did what he told me to do. And I came back and I reported to him that I did this. I would also ask him, how can I help you? So that he could also know what's in it for him. A lot of times, it's not, sometimes they'll have things that they want you to help them with. Other times, the joy of mentors just comes by knowing that the mentees are teachable and coachable and they do what they say they will do and they listen. So as a mentee, be coachable, listen to what your mentor tells you to do. Another thing I would say is you don't have to have one mentor. You can have several mentors. So you can have a career mentor. If you're a family person, you can have the family mentor. You don't have to feel like you have to have just one person whose footsteps you follow very closely. You can borrow from many things. The one last thing I'd also say is that there are so many books out there written, and there are some people who you might not be able to reach out to personally. Some people who you look up to might be dead, but if they have books about them, reading their biographies, sometimes by just reading books that people have written, reading about their lives, you can get
Yes.
a direct mentorship from them. So there are many ways to get mentorship. It doesn't have to be the one individual you rely on.
Oh, that's great. And now speaking about writing, you're an author. How did you get to that? And what was it like to write a book? Was it easy? Is it something you'll do again?
So, how I got to that is that, okay, so looking back at some point when I finished residency, I was living in East Tennessee and I became a mom of two kids. At that point, I had two. Life had just taken its busy lull. I'd wake up, go to work, leave the kids at home, work, 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 see patients, come home, look after the kids, put them to bed. And life was just a grind. It had taken a grind. And one particular time we had traveled to Kenya, and on our way back home, the flight that we were on, the engine malfunctioned, and the flight was descending. I mean, people were screaming there. We thought we were gonna die. We literally thought we were gonna die. But the pilot was able to save the flight. We were able to have an emergency landing in Canada, and in the end, we were fine. But I just remember when the plane was going down, and I was looking down, I was like, oh my goodness, this might be it. We're actually literally gonna die. It made me think, if I died now, what would people say of me? What would I have accomplished? And I just felt like, it was nice being a doctor, seeing people one on one, but there was just more that I had to give to the world. So after that, I was just looking for more. In the process of looking for more, I got yet another mentor. He was a coach called Dr. Dre, who helps doctors have a bigger impact beyond the exam room. And he's actually the person who inspired me to write a book. He just said writing a book allows you to put something out there that lives beyond you and gives you an opportunity to talk and to reach more people and to make a bigger impact. So I think it started with a near-death experience that made me realize I probably need to do it more in my life. And then I met Dr. Dre and joined this community where there were other doctors writing books and speaking and just, doing more beyond the regular stuff that we do in clinic.
Wow, that's amazing. And from your book, I know we want everyone to buy the book. Tell people more about the book. Why should they buy and read that book?
So then, I have the book up here, Live and Look Younger. And the reason why I'd like people to buy it, so there's a quote at some point so I wrote the book when I was on maternity leave. And at that point, I had a chance to reflect on what questions the patients ask me that I really don't have the chance to answer in clinic. And one thing is that, human beings, we all want to look good. I deal with people of all ages, people who are older. Some of them in their age have less confidence in themselves. I wish they didn't, but some of them have less confidence with the way they're looking. They hate their wrinkles, they hate the saggy skin, they just
Mhm.
hate, things that come with aging, like the loss of energy, loss of just lost they lose a lot of things, and I just felt like it doesn't have to be like that. I don't really have the time to go over everything in detail, but I can write a book where I talk
Mhm.
about how you can live, how you can look younger. So my book goes into skincare, the basics of all you need to really have an optimized skincare regimen. It goes into the lifestyle, like exercising, eating properly, sleeping, the whole lifestyle that you need to holistically be healthy, be more energetic. And it goes into mindset and even goes into cosmetic procedures and how to choose them. Just help it's helping people know what to do to look good without falling for the hype and without spending too much money and not getting the right results.
No, that's great. And I think the book has been a success. After you wrote it, have you done like tours about it or different things just to promote the book?
I've done a
And how
few
has
tours.
that been?
It's been fun. It's been fun going on podcasts. It was fun going on
Yeah.
a few tours. I didn't do as many as I should have done because at that point I was also balancing a young family with kids who needed me a lot of
Yeah.
the time. But it's been great writing the book. I'd honestly say, even though writing a book seems hard, to be honest, the harder part of being an author is actually marketing the book, because
Yeah.
just writing a book doesn't mean it'll necessarily get sold. You have to
Yeah.
have podcasts, you have to do social media. There are many things that you have to do to make the book, to put the
Yeah.
book in front of people and make them want to grab a copy.
Okay. You said something about being busy with family and the kids. So tell us more about that. How are you managing um your work, family, and everything that's happening around you?
So it's not always easy. I'm married. I have a supportive husband. He's a busy full-time cardiologist, so he's pretty busy and he has his plate full. And I have three kids ranging from age 9, who's my oldest son, down to 4, my youngest. It is really busy having them all, but I'd say what I've learned to do to be able to juggle everything is I initially when I first started writing my book and adding all these things to my life, one of the first things I had to do was a time audit to see how I was spending my time. And I was just challenged for a week to write down every half hour, what did I do? What did I do? And I was
Mhm.
able to see, oh, I'm spending a lot of time on social media, or I'm spending a lot of time doing these shows. So once I did my time audit, I was able to be accountable with how my time was spent. And I was able to be like, I think I can cut on this and add more time for this. So I had to do a time audit. That was the first thing I did.
Mhm.
Second thing I did is that I had to take stock of the activities that were taking too much time. So there's a point where I used to clean my own house, which of course for people in Kenya, you don't do that, but here in the US, a lot of people don't have domestic help. But at that point, I decided to outsource that. So I decided to outsource cleaning my house. I was able to outsource certain tasks so that I could make time for the things that made the most important, that meant the most: going to work, taking care of my family, and also making time to read, to write books and read and become a better person. I've outsourced a lot of things, and I just audit my time so that I have more control and I don't get carried away watching TV shows or scrolling through social media.
Okay, no, that I think that's so important, doing a time audit and being very conscious about how you spend your time. But as you just look at your entire life and your career up to where it has been, what would you say has been for you the most transformational thing that drove you to be who you are today? Maybe there are people listening to you because the community sometimes even has people who've just sat their exams. There are people in their careers who are feeling stuck. What do you think would be a piece of advice you would give people who are going through transitions in life?
So transitions will always happen. I think for me, I've had many transformational stages. I don't know if I'd say I have the most. I think in every stage of my life, there were different things. There was
Mhm.
definitely the time when I was in med school when, or even actually the time when I was in undergrad when
Yeah.
I met the career advisor and he was very rude. He's like, you know what? We told you when you were getting admitted to Yale that it's hard for international students to get into medicine in the US. You should have just stayed in your country to become a doctor. It won't happen to you. So he told me that. And I mean, not to play the race card, but he didn't look like me. He was a man who came from privilege. And here he was just telling me that it wasn't going to happen. I didn't belong. The way I circumvented that, at first I cried after I met him when he told me that I should just give up on my dream of doing medicine, that it wasn't going to happen because it doesn't happen to international students. I didn't have
Mhm.
the funds. I didn't have the $200,000 to put in escrow. I didn't know about scholarships. But what I did is that I prayed, I leaned in on God. So for those who are people of faith, I'm a Christian. I really trusted in God every stage of my journey. I haven't mentioned it enough, but it was my faith in God that really pushed me through. And through prayer, I just got this inspiration to go to the medical school and just to talk to the dean. They had an office of multicultural affairs. So I went to talk to the dean. I was like, hey, do you have any international students? And how did they make it? Can I talk to them? So he connected me to some international students. And when I
Mhm.
saw that they had made it, that it was possible for them, they gave me the inspiration. They were the example of how I could make it. So they just told me, you just be focused on your goal, put your head up high. The career counselor might have told you that it's not possible, but you've clearly seen that it's possible with us. So you just be focused, put in all your effort, do your best
Mhm.
in everything, get the best letters of recommendations. They gave me all the advice, they encouraged
Yeah.
me. And I
Yeah.
was able to go through. So, sometimes you get into rooms where you have imposter syndrome. That man definitely made me feel like I didn't
Yeah.
belong and I made the wrong decision. But by looking at the example of others, I was able to just be focused and push through. So I think that was one pivotal moment. Another one was also in med school when I announced that I was gonna go into dermatology. Again, it's one of the
Mhm.
most competitive specialties. And even though I like
Yes.
to think of myself as smart, I'll be honest, I wasn't number one in med school. I was like probably like in the middle of the class. I wasn't in the like top 5% or something. I was kind of,
Mhm.
somewhere upper middle. And anyways, they're like, oh, dermatology is only for like people who are in the top percentage. But
Yeah.
again, I followed my mentor, I followed his advice, and I
Yeah.
pushed despite people telling me I couldn't make it. And I did. So I would just tell people if there's something you want to do, there'll always be naysayers along the way. There'll actually be more people who discourage you than people who encourage you. Just shut down the negative noise and be focused, be positive, have your purpose and hold on to it. The one other thing is, when growing up, I never learned about vision boards. It's something I'm learning about now. And if you don't know about it, it's something that would be nice to do. It's a useful thing to do where just look up how you create a vision board. Essentially, with vision boards, you come up with a vision of how you want your life to be in different spheres, career, family, faith, fitness, and you can even get like it's a vision board, so it's visual. Get images of the house you want to live in, somebody who represents the career you want to be in, somebody who represents a level of physical fitness that you want to attain, and put it on that board and look at that board, dedicate it to God and be focused. It's amazing how vision boards can come true if you keep to it and you're focused and you don't listen to the naysayers. So that's another piece of advice I'd give the people listening here. Just learn about vision boarding, come up with a vision board. It helps a lot.
Thanks. Thanks a lot for that. I also believe in that power of writing and really putting down what your dreams are. You're someone, from what I know and even from what I'm hearing, who's continuously seeking to grow. What would you say about continuous learning? How would you advise members of the career side community on the importance of lifelong learning? And is that something that you're constantly doing?
That's something I'm definitely constantly doing. The advice I'd give people is a lot of times in school, you're waiting for the next level. I remember when I was in high school, I couldn't wait to finish it. When I was in university, I couldn't wait to be done. When I finished med school and residency, I was like, oh my goodness, I finally arrived. But again, for me, I actually thought I'd arrived and I was in a lull until that near-death experience of mine, where I realized, oh my goodness, there's so much to life. And then the only ways to get more in life and to advance in life is to learn more. in life, there's always continuous learning. You've never arrived. Just know that you've accomplished a lot, but there's always more to learn. You can always learn how to, for example, speak better. Right now, I'm in a journey where I'm trying to be a better speaker, and I'm reading books that I can on speaking, trying to attend seminars. That's a skill that I'd love to improve. In your career, there's always new information coming out. So even though you've graduated from whatever course you did, there's always new stuff coming out. It's nice to strive to be in the top 5 to 10% of people in your career. And the only way to do that is continuous learning. So nobody's going to grade you for that. Nobody's going to hold you accountable, but you need to hold yourself personally accountable to growing in your career, to committing to being the top in your field in what you do, to committing to upgrading, whether it's your communication skills. Of course, our health is also, you should also commit to upgrading your health, because our health is everything. If you don't take care of your health, then you'll grow old and you won't have the energy. You'll grow old faster and you won't have the energy to accomplish as much as you do. So in life, you never arrive. We're always growing, we're always becoming. And even in the Bible, like think of bringing in Christianity, think of Paul. Paul was always pressing towards the goal, even though he was such an accomplished person in the New Testament. He was always pressing forward. So that's the advice for people. Just press forward in your career, in your health, in your relationships. Keep growing, keep pressing forward. Do that by reading books, attending webinars like this, getting mentors, attending seminars. If you can even get a coach, do that, because when you pay people, you pay attention to what they tell you. So I've rambled a little bit, but it's a lot.
No, there's a lot of information there. The other thing I wanted you to speak about, and I'm requesting people to put down their questions. If you have any questions, be ready with them. You can jot them down and we'll give you an opportunity to ask them out aloud. But brand is important, and building a strong personal brand, I think, is something that you've done quite well. What advice would you give to members of the career side community who are looking to build their personal brands?
So branding is definitely important. I always say that whether you want to or not, there's a personal brand that you have. If you're not intentional about it, it will be a default brand. But if you're more intentional, you can, by the values you espouse, the way you shop in the world. When you build a strong personal brand, it just opens more opportunities for you. I probably haven't answered your question as well as I could have, but personal branding it's people are realizing that it's more important than ever. If you think of Apple, people think of Steve Jobs more than they think of Apple, even though Steve Jobs has been dead for so many years. When people think of Tesla, they'll think of Elon Musk, whether you love him or hate him, but his brand is stronger than his business's brand. And that's just the way it is. Human beings like to relate. We're relational individuals. So individuals will always shine more than the business itself. So personal branding is an important thing. And I feel like it's something that people should be more intentional about. I'm still growing. So I'm still becoming. My brand is, I love my brand, but I feel like I could do more. And yeah, I'm still in a process of learning and growing and becoming, but it's something that people should look into and something that's really important, because when you don't build your brand, other people will do it for you. Other people will define who you are. It could be your bosses who put you under one category and they just define you, or other things. But whether we like it or not, we all have a personal brand, and the stronger you can build yours, the more opportunities you'll get.
Thanks a lot for that. I'm moving to the questions. You can type in questions. I can see a question from Rose. Rose, do you want to put on your mic and ask the question if you're able to? If not, I can read it out for you. I think Rosie will have to give you the mic. Okay, as we wait for that, Rosie, please unmute Rosenzioka to ask her question. Okay,
Thank you,
oh,
Phyllis,
go
and
ahead. Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Kemmy. This has been very insightful. So my question is about the role of friends and accountability partners, and maybe you can speak broadly about the role of network. Sometimes we hear this phrase that you're the sum total of the people that are around you, the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So maybe if you can touch a bit about that, what has been your experience? Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's a really great question. And networks and friends are really important. So you will find that as you grow in your personal journey, there are people around you who don't want to grow. That's the reality. Even though we all think we want to grow, there'll be people who don't want you to grow. And you'll find that sometimes you become less comfortable around them. That is okay. Just remember that if you find that your network is not serving you, if, say, for example, a network of people, they just want to watch TV, they want to watch series after series after series, they want to spend time hanging out but not really talking much, it might be time to spend less time with that network and find a new network of people where you can grow together. Sometimes to get the new network of people, you may have to pay for it through coaching. So like, for example, for me, I got a new network of friends, of other doctors who are writing books and speaking on stages through joining a coaching program. We were all on the same page. We all had the same goals. We're going to write a book. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it was very different from some of my other friends who were going through the lull that, again, I wasn't. Not to say that it's any better or worse, but sometimes you'll have to spend less time with people with people who represent where you are, so that you can make more room in your schedule for people who represent where you want to grow. It doesn't mean you should not love the people who are where you are, but to advance, the average of people that you spend the most time with has to advance. And, sometimes people are in a position where there's just no one around you, or you can't see any network around you, or maybe you can't even afford to pay to be in a group where the people in the level where you want to be. If that is the case, I love reading, and books have so much wealth, so much information. When you read a book continuously and read a lot, it's like that person is your friend, even though they're not there. If there's somebody very admirable that you admire, if you read their work, maybe listen to the podcast that they're in, you start thinking like them, and they also become part of your virtual, even if it's imaginary, they still become part of your network. So if you think you're in a position where there's no one around you, that's where you want to be, there are always people who are ahead of you, who you aspire to be. And now in this age of YouTube and social media and the internet, there's a lot of information about them. So immerse yourself in those worlds. Like, say, for example, there's somebody out here who wants to be like Oprah Winfrey. Read her book, listen to podcasts where she's interviewed. There are ways you can immerse yourself in that world if the people around you are not where you want to be. But in general, I'd encourage you to, if you need to spend less time with certain people and spend more time with other people, be brave enough to do it. I know that with every decision you make, there'll be the people who love you and support you, the people who criticize you and hate you. Even Jesus Christ had his critics. So try to learn not to listen to the voices of others. Oh, Phyllis, I think you said something. We can't hear you.
I muted my mic. I needed to shut a door, so I muted my mic. But yeah, I think that's really good advice about sort of moving into new circles and meeting people who are in the same path that you're looking at. That's really nice. As you were answering that, I was just thinking, in your book, you talk a lot about wellness and success and all that. For you, from the conversations you've had as a doctor, what do you think would be what you would say a great misconception that people have about health and beauty?
So, a big misconception people have about beauty is that the external is everything. And I see
Mm.
that a lot. I have some patients who come willing to spend so much money to do Botox, to do fillers, to do a lot of cosmetic procedures. And I mean,
Mhm.
they do work, they make dramatic differences. Botox work, fillers work. A lot of the procedures we do can take 10 years off someone's face. They can make a 70-year-old lady who was feeling a bit down about her looks suddenly look 50 again and have that confidence. But the misconceptions people have, it's not mostly the externals, it's still the internal, and it's the lifestyle, which is very encouraging for all of us because all of us can have a good diet where we're more plant-based, having lots of vegetables and fruits and drinking a lot of water. A lot of us, especially if we manage our time well, we can prioritize restful sleep, which is so essential in our body repairing itself. A lot of us can exercise, like even if you feel like you can't, now with YouTube, there are exercises that you can do in small rooms. You can improvise. You don't need to be a member of a gym and have a personal trainer to look good. If you just set your mind to do it, you can do it. So there are many tenets of health that
Yes.
when we follow them will make us look amazing from the inside out. And that's what I want to emphasize. Like a lot of people want to focus on skincare. Now with TikTok, I have 12-year-olds with 12-step regimens when they don't really need to do that. People are
Yeah.
spending hundreds on cosmetics and on cosmetic products and procedures, but it all starts with the internal and with the lifestyle, which is a mindful, we have to be mindful about our diet, our exercise, our sleep. I like to go with the acronym. I have an acronym that's fresher in my
Yes.
book, but then
Uh-huh.
I see a lot of Adventists here, so I'll go with something that Adventists know more. New Start, which Adventists have, it's so good for overall health and
Yes.
looking good, where we focus on our nutrition, our exercise, our water, sun exposure. What else is in New Start? There's temperance and many things, but look it up. But really, lifestyle matters
One
a lot.
time. Yeah.
And then beyond lifestyle is also mindset. Your mindset
Yes.
matters. If you
Mm-hmm.
think you look ugly, there's no amount of expensive clothing and makeup that will make you look better. You have to just love yourself and be confident in yourself and accept yourself just the way you are, because there's a reason why God created you as you. He had hundreds of millions of sperms to choose from when he allowed your egg to be fertilized. There are also hundreds of thousands of eggs that could have been made, but when God allowed you to be as you, he had a reason. So I also wish people had more self-acceptance and just love themselves as they are, because once you can accept yourself and love yourself and have that inner confidence, that's just a big step of the journey, and everything else is just an external. So again, I'm rambling a lot, but yes, those are the
That's
things
no,
focusing on
I think that's so
external and
important.
internal.
I think the things you've talked about, wellness, I think for me this year, wellness was my word for the year. When I started the year, I normally start with a word, and God kept saying wellness, and I'm of why wellness? But I understand why more now because of a number of things. And those things about just eating healthy, being conscious about your health, sleeping well, exercising, things we take for granted. But as you've said, they're actually free, most of them. There are things you can do from the comfort of your home, and they've been put there for us for free. And the issue of mindset, I think that's something you speak a lot about in your book. And when you talk about mindset, what else do you have to say in terms of what's the right mindset? How do we get the right mindset? What does that even mean in the first place?
So mindset is a hard thing to define, but it's really the way you view the world and just your outlook on the world. So yeah, I don't have a good definition for it. I'll have to come back
Mm,
and make it. But pretty much
that's
your
nice.
mindset is the sum total of the ideas that you have and ideas that influence you and influence the way you show up in the world. So there are people who, like, for example, some people, if you have a glass that has, well, this one is empty, but this glass of kombucha, which I love to drink, you can see it as half empty or half full. So some people have that mindset where they see the negative in this world, and some people have the mindset where they see the positive. It is better to view the world with a more positive mindset, where when you view situations, even though they have the plus side and the minus side, be aware of the negatives, but think more of the positive, because what you focus on expands and what you don't focus on contracts. So in terms of
Right.
mindset and how we can build our mindset, I'd say I built my mindset by reading books. I love reading, so books like The Magic of Thinking Big was a great book that built my mindset. Even Think Big by Ben Carson, the one that influenced me way back when I was
Yeah.
in high school, it influenced my mindset. So to grow my mindset, I actually listen to books, I listen to podcasts, and I even read the Bible. The Bible is such a great mindset book if you look at it from that angle. God is always encouraging us to just uplift our thoughts, to think of whatever is true and noble journal and write and to focus our mind on that. Some things I will do to improve my mindset. I don't listen to the news much. I read highlights, but I don't
Yeah.
spend hours watching the news. The news can just get you down. I mean, you spend an hour watching the news, you hear about
Exactly.
murders and rapes, corruption. It just makes you think, oh, this world is
Yeah.
terrible. Take me to heaven. And I mean, heaven is amazing, but while we're on earth, we should make the most out of it. So for me to strengthen my mindset, I minimize the time I spend listening to bad news, and I'll spend more time just listening to encouraging sermons, encouraging messages, and things that build my mindset and make me more positive and more forward looking, things that make me just look forward to the future.
That's amazing. And I think that's something that's so important, having that growth mindset, because really your mindset is your beliefs, your attitudes, your mental frame, and being able to know that that's something that you can continuously expand depending on what you feed your mind with. So having a growth mindset, I think, is quite important. I'll go back to the questions. I think I saw Masiberi Lakinyi asking a question, which I think is Masi, do you want to come to the mic if Rosie can give you the mic, or I can ask it for you? It's a conversation I see on YouTube sometimes. Mercy Okay. So the question is, but what it's a comment. Let me ask you, is it a problem to look your age, like a 50-year-old looking 50?
Oh, it's not a problem to look your age. I feel like people should embrace the way they look and age
Yeah.
gracefully. It
Yes.
really is very culturally, it's very culture specific. I feel like in our African culture, because we respected older people are proud to look old and to look their age. I am in North America where there's unfortunately ageism for better or for worse. So here in
Yes.
North America, people are always wanting to look younger. I mean, that's why my book is titled Live and Look Younger, because that's what
Yeah.
people are wanting to do. And it's just because youth brings energy, it brings opportunity, you're vibrant. So there's nothing wrong with looking your age. And I feel like we should embrace our age with grace. I also feel like there have been people, and you can look at celebrities, if you just Google plastic surgery and mishap, you can see celebrities who tried too hard to look young and now they've
Mm,
changed their faces, they're all puffed up. So I'm a
mm,
big proponent of graceful aging. That being said, I'm a dermatologist. I inject Botox in people, I inject fillers in people. I don't do many facelifts, but I can do, I do procedures that make people look younger. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think everyone has to be true to themselves. In our North American society, people like to look younger and they feel more confident when they're younger. So here it's people are aspiring to that. In other societies, not so much. But I think embrace your age, be true to yourself. And going back to what Phyllis and I said about the lifestyle, if you're eating well, you're exercising, you're sleeping, you'll just be so much, you'll be so vibrant, you'll exude health that you don't even have to go to the externals to look good and to feel good.
Okay, thanks for that. So we have another question here from Kevin Mwangi, who's asking, how easy is it for one to change stuff, your career and all of that, and start all over again, or get a new way of doing everything?
You know what? It's not always easy. Anytime you're trying to upgrade yourself, to be honest, there will be challenges and there will be hardship endured, but it is possible. I'll give an example of my grandfather. He was not very he I hear that when my father was going through elementary school, my grandfather was learning with him. When he was in class one, my grandfather would do lessons with my father. So they were learning at the same time, even though he was a grown man who had several children, and he learned and he became a pastor. And he's one of the main people who influenced me actually, because for him, education is everything. Education changed his life. And so I'm also a big proponent of education. It might be hard, but it's not impossible. If you think about it, people are living longer and longer now. There are many people who are making it to the 90s, to 100, to 80. So if you're 30 years old or 40 years old and wanting to make a career change, just realize that go for it. There'll be so many good years ahead of you. So as long as you're focused and determined, it's worthwhile to do it. The one other story I'll share is that when I was in medical school, there's a lady who was in her 40s. She was already a grandma when she started medical school. She'd always wanted to be a doctor, but she had teenage pregnancies, got married early, had a bunch of things that didn't go right in her life, but because she always knew she wanted to be a doctor. In her 40s, she got into medical school, overcame so much. She was even featured in the Oprah Winfrey Show because her story was this story of tenacity and of how somebody who was pregnant at 15 could turn around and go to Yale and be in med school and thrive and, get into anesthesiology, which is a competitive specialty, and do well in it. So it's never too late. In summary, it's never too late. If you're focused and determined, you can do it, but do know it won't be easy, but it's not impossible.
No, that's amazing. If there are any other questions, you can post or raise your hand. But really, let me just scroll through and see. Marie Gesare said, time accountability. I have learned to forget people and discouragements and stay focused. Thanks for that, Marie. Claudine says, Amen. Talking about breaking barriers, keep shining. So she appreciates that.
Thank you, Claudine. Claudine is one of my besties, and so is Senika. I see
Oh,
a lot of
that's
people
great.
showing up. Thank you for showing up.
That's really nice. And
Become
then someone
exciting.
commented about borrowing books from the library instead of buying is a great life tip, especially when it comes to being frugal. I think that's really good. So yeah, those are the comments and questions. But I think thank you so much. You've shared a lot of valuable insights. And as you come to the end, what final piece of advice can you give to the professionals on the call, those who are looking to break out of the mindset that they currently are in, those who are looking to do big things like go to Yale, because I think that was a big thing that you did. What parting shot can you give as we come to the end of this conversation?
The parting shot would be strive to be at the top. In every career, there's always somebody who's at the top, someone who's at the pinnacle of the career. Just realize that that person who's at the top, they grew up as a child just like you. They pooped on themselves. They had to learn how to walk. Everything that they learned was a skill. And even for skilled sports players, it's still skill. So everything that you need to rise up to success is learnable. Everything is a skill. If you have the talent, it'll be faster to acquire the skill, but everything is a skill that can be acquired. So I would just encourage people, see who the people at the top of your career are. They are known. See them, learn about what it took for them to get there, and then see if it's something that rings true to you. See if it's something, when you see how they got there, you can ask yourself, is this something that I would like to do? Is this a way I could aspire? And because they left the footsteps for you, success always leaves clues. There are always footsteps to follow. Just follow in the footsteps and commit to it. Commit to spending an hour a day, if you can, even if you can't an hour, maybe half an hour, becoming a better version of yourself in your career, whether it's reading books. I read dermatology books all the time because I want to know what's current. I want to be the best in that. I do my best. Right now, I'm learning how to be a communicator. I'm trying to be better. So, but I read books, I listen to podcasts. So just commit to being the best, see how the best are performing, see what steps they took when they were at your level, and then just come up with a plan to join them.
That's great. And if people want a copy of your book, how can we get it?
So if people want a copy, my friend Tanika has been amazing at sharing the link. It's available on Amazon. It's called Live and Look Younger. If you search for Live and Look Younger, it's not showing very well in the camera, but the link is there. It's available on Amazon. For people in North America, if you want an autographed copy, you can go to my website, www.drkemmymd.com. I'll put it in the links, but you can also get it there and I'll autograph it and send it to you. But it is available on Amazon, either the physical copy or the Kindle copy for those who are in places where Amazon charges too much to ship.
Thanks a lot. And I encourage everyone, the book is really amazing. Please get a copy, and I'm sure you'll enjoy reading it on Amazon. I want to thank you, Kemmy, for joining, for sharing your journey with us. It's an inspirational journey. The things you've been able to do, the things you've been able to overcome to be where you are. Sometimes when people see you at the top, they don't know that it's been a journey where you've had to really turn on your mindset. You've really had to have a clear vision for where you want to be. You've learnt on mentors and on other people to be able to get to where you are. So thank you for being candid, for sharing what your journey has been. I think I've learned a lot. from what you've shared, and I'm going to put some of those things into practice, like uh, going into groups where you can do things together. I'm in the process of writing a book, so getting inspired about how I can go about it also. So it's really been lovely having you. So before we wind up, I want to hand over to Grace, the CEO of Career Site, to just make one or two announcements as we normally do. But thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for joining the community. Rosie will post the link. You can join the community so that you receive updates when we have sessions like this or different activities that we carry out. But over to you, Grace, as we wind up.
Thank you. Before Grace comes on, thank you so much. It was an honor. Phyllis, I've been watching what you do from a distance, and I'm so impressed. You've come a long way. You're very impressive. You're a great example to other people and a mentor. And I'm so grateful for what you do with Career Site. I just pray that you have all the success in what you do. And
Thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much.
the opportunity. It's truly been an honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Over to you, Grace. Grace was supposed to make an announcement, but I don't know. She seems not to be unmuted. But we have a book club that we started that's quite exciting. We had the first session and we had two authors join us actually for that. But for this month, we are reading When to Jump. It's a book by Mike Lewis. It's about if the job you have isn't the life you want. So it's about careers. So please find the book. We'll share for you the details where you can get the book. It's called When to Jump. So that's the book club book for this month. And yeah, we encourage you to join the book club. We'll share the link in the chat. So unless Grace is still coming, I don't know if she has the mic, but yeah, I want to thank everyone for joining us. We look forward to engaging you again in a month, but please join the book club and join us in reading the book for the month, When to Jump. Thanks a lot and have a lovely evening.
Sorry, Phyllis.
Okay, Grace, is that you?
Yes,
Please go ahead.
Rosetta has just been able to unmute me.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Kemunto, for such a lovely session. And once again, thank you so much to all of you who've been joining us and join us for our webinar series. One more announcement that I do have from us is that we are currently going through a mentorship program by GMI, Global Mentorship Initiative. It's for individuals who are in their last 2 years of university and early career individuals. So if you are interested in joining the program, kindly write to us at communications@careersite.org. It's a 12-week program where you're able to have sessions with a mentor one-on-one. And I'm very sure for those who are part of it, we have a cohort ongoing. So if you'd like to join, we can enroll you for the next cohort. So if you'd like to join, or if you know someone who can be suitable for the program, kindly write to us at communications@careersite.org. We will be having our next webinar coming up again, so be sure to follow us on our social media platforms, which is Career Site on LinkedIn and on Instagram and Twitter, and you will be able to have details for the next webinar. Thank you, everyone, and have a lovely evening, day, afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you.